It's time. Wake up. I have to kill you. I'm a Viking!
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast Narrative Lens with me, Nikki.
And me, Bayu Erviandi.
How are you, Bayu? It's been a long since we met.
Yeah.
Just like yesterday.
I've been really busy with my work, especially in the end of year, in the beginning of year, and the first semester in June and July. So
In June and July we have vacation.
yeah, but for me, outside
Oh, it's work
outside the university, it's very busy time, especially right now. Actually, really busy for me, but responsibility have to be executed right now for English for digital media.
And instead of treating this like a formal review, we want this episode to feel more like a conversation.
Conversation wise,
A few moments later.
we should order coffee from the
I want to we just don't do promotion here.
okay. I'm gonna order coffee because it's already
Midnight.
midnight
I'm
and
actually hungry.
hungry. Okay, you good?
I'm good. Wait, this is actually
22:42.
yeah we are.
It's almost 11 p.m.
Yep. Today we are going to talk about one of the best movie that I've ever watched, which is How to Train Your Dragon live action in 2025.
And we'll talk about the story, the elements, some socio-linguistic aspect, and also our personal thoughts about the film. Yeah.
Exactly, because this movie is not talking about dragons only, but a lot of things that we can dive deeper into. So let's begin with the synopsis.
So basically, How to Train Your Dragon is set in the Viking village. Yeah, you know Viking. Yeah, 3 countries actually in real life. There is a Norway, Sweden, and the other one.
I don't know, but I think it's One Piece. The only Vikings that in my mind. Oh, Pirates of Caribbean with Johnny Depp. It's Viking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, the How to Train Your Dragon is set in the Viking village of Berg, where fighting dragons is normal part of daily life. And yeah, the villagers see dragons as enemies and that must be killed.
Yeah, and the main character, which is Hiccup, doesn't really fit into this culture. He's the son of Stoic the Fast, which is the chief of Berg, but Hiccup is physically weak, awkward, and emotionally different from the other Vikings.
As the son of the chieftain, right? He expected to become a great warrior like his father, but instead he struggles to meet those expectations, like many other people in this world. Expectations, yeah. Everything changes when he managed to shoot down a mysterious dragon called Night Fury.
But instead of killing it, Hiccup hesitates. He realizes that the dragon is injured and afraid, just like him. This moment becomes the turning point of the story.
So the dragon have the feeling, yeah. So
What kind of feeling?
Yeah. So if he can, the dragon can be injured, and the dragon can be can feel the presence of the human beings. It's a feeling. It's a consciousness. Long story forward, and he names the dragon Toothless and slowly builds a relationship with him.
Yeah.
And through this bond, Hiccup begins to understand that dragons are not monsters, but misunderstood creatures. Always misunderstood. From the beginning of time, every problem comes with misunderstanding.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. And what I like here is how the story of Hiccup learning empathy rather than violence. While the village continues to train young Vikings to fight dragons, Hiccup secretly learns how to communicate with the dragons, especially with Toothless.
In this creates tension in the village itself, in the burg, especially with his father as a chieftain, and Astrid, who initially represents the ideal of Viking warrior should look like and should act.
Eventually, Hiccup's new way of thinking challenged the entire belief system of Berg. The story reached to the climax when the village faces a bigger dragon, and Hiccup must prove that the cooperation is stronger than hatred.
Should we go to the literary elements discussions?
Yeah, that's the point of our discussion. Though.
Okay, then let's dive into it. We're going to the plot, yeah? If we look at the plot, the story follows a classic coming of age structure.
The exposition where Hiccup is introduced as an outsider and very awkward, clumsy, coward.
You make plenty of marks, all in the wrong places. You can't wield a hammer, you can't swing an axe. You can't even throw one of these.
Then the rising action starts when he meets Toothless.
The conflict grows as Hiccup lives between two worlds. The violent Viking traditions and his visual understanding of dragons.
And the climax happens when his secret is revealed and he has to confront his father and the village ideology.
The resolution shows that humans and dragons coexist between each other.
Let's move on to the characters.
Okay.
So Hiccup is a very interesting protagonist because he's not heroic in the traditional sense.
So true. His strengths come from intelligence, emotional sensitivity, and creativity. So he is more like a thinker, yeah, with smart, playing smart, not the physical power, like only physics. No, he's clever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have Stoic the Fast, as I mentioned before. He is the chief of Berg, and he really represents authority, tradition, and toxic expectation of masculinity.
So, Stoic the Fast, on the other hand, represent authority as a chieftain, authority, the tradition of Vikings itself in the Berg, and toxic expectations of masculinity. Expectations is, it's like two sides of a coin. So you don't expect something from someone. Actually, if you wanna live smoothly, but actually he's not a flat character, his character development becomes clear when he learns to listen to Hiccup, and he should listen to Hiccup actually,
Yeah.
as a chieftain, as a leader.
I think Gen Z parents or millennial parents must do that. When we do conversation with our kids, we listen more, right?
Yeah.
Another character, which is Astrid. Astrid also evolves. At first, she's very competitive and judgmental, but she becomes more open-minded after seeing Hiccup's bond with Toothless.
Really?
Yeah, you know, Toothless was a very delicate creature and very
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
I think that's turning point.
And
for
it's
Astrid.
very cute actually.
It's very cute
and very tame. Yeah, it's not. And Toothless, even without verbal language, is very expressive character ya. His body language, communications, fear, trust, and loyalty.
Now we're moving on to the setting. So the
Okay.
setting of Berk is harsh and cold, which reflects the tough mindset of its people.
It's just like in the real life, yeah, in Norway, in Sweden, and in Finland.
And in One Piece. The only Vikings I know.
yeah.
Thought of something funnier than 24.
Let me hear it.
25.
For this, yeah, for How to Train Your Dragon live action version, emphasize the realism, making Berk feel dangerous and rigid as it's supposed to.
Meanwhile, the hidden places of Toothless and Hiccups where they met, it's like a heaven on earth, I think.
Oh my god!
Yeah, one major theme is understanding over prejudice.
Yeah, and I think also courage beyond physical strength, because you know Hiccup is a coward and he just kind of felt like sometimes he doesn't belong to others in their community because he cannot fight the dragon. So,
Another theme is coexistence.
which led nicely into the sociolinguistic discussion later.
Yeah, with the conflict is both external and internal. So, externally, it's fighting versus dragons, and internally, it's Hiccup versus the expectations, especially his father expectations.
So let's talk about the point of view and narrator. So the story is mostly told from the third person perspective, focused mainly on Hiccup's experiences, and this helps viewers to more empathetic with his perspective and question the dominant ideology of Berk.
Now let's move to the sociolinguistic part, which actually very interesting.
From a sociolinguistic perspective, the film clearly shows how language reflects power and social hierarchy in Berk. Stoic and the other elders consistently use direct, commanding speech, especially when talking about the dragons, which reinforces the idea that authority in the village is built through dominance and certainty. For example, when Stoics say to Hiccup, "Stop, just stop. Every time you step outside, disaster follows. Can you not see that I have bigger problems? Winter almost here and I have the entire village to feed." In several scenes, Stoic speaks in absolutes, framing dragons as enemies that must be destroyed, leaving no room for negotiation or alternative viewpoints.
You see, must. That's the word. Must
Yeah,
means the
non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. It's the responsibility of every Vikings in Berks. So they must see the dragon as the enemy, and that kind of viewpoints is very prejudice, especially if you doesn't even know what that creature have a feeling, have a personality, etc. and etc. In contrast, Hiccup's language noticeable difference as he often hesitates, explain his reasoning, and ask questions rather than giving orders. For example, when he kept answer his dad like,
Not like you, Dad.
this is the difference in speech style, positions Hika as an outsider within his own community because his way of speaking does not align with the dominant masculine and militaristic norms of birth. Can you imagine being an outsider within your own community?
Oh,
Because you are think differently than the others. You're not following the blind command. So if you following the blind command, it's like a dictatorial ship. You just a foot soldier, like meaningless missions accomplished or whatever. But interestingly, the bond between Hiccup and Toothless develops almost entirely without verbal language, relying on gesture. Through these contrasting language practices, the film suggests that understanding and cooperation can emerge not from power-driven speech, but from the willingness to listen and adapt to others.
absolutely true, because this shows how language represents identity, and in Hiccup's way of speaking places him outside traditional masculinity, as Bayu said before. Also, let's talk about Astrid, because she's the one of the fellow students in dragon fighting training, and her language also changes throughout the film. And at first, she speaks assertively and competitively. For example, like, is this some kind of a joke to you? Our parents' war is about to become ours. Figure out which side you're on.
So Astrid also adapt, yeah. Just like before I said, Astrid is adapting with her, language, body language, and the mindset kind of thinking. And but rather interacting with Hiccup, her language become more collaborative and empathetic.
Another interesting aspect is silence. Toothless doesn't speak, yet communication still happens. This challenged the idea that language must be verbal. Meaning can be constructed through gestures, eye contact, and trust.
So they communicate between each other with gesture,
And body language.
Body language.
We can clearly see that through the movie.
Yeah, and in real life too, when a person is deaf, they use sign language, right? In the real life.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not always verbal.
Yeah, not always verbal because some unfortunate people cannot heard properly. So we use same method actually in the real world, using the sign language like this. Yeah.
Something like that. Interesting.
Yeah. So we go into the personal rating and moral messages, yeah. So for me, personally, I will rate this movie 8.5 out of 10.
Wow, that's quite high.
Yeah, the live action adaptation feels respectful, original, while the adding emotional depth.
I personally will rate this movie 9 out of 10 because of the seamless CGI that they are used. Toothless is just like coming out from manga.
Yeah.
And the angle, the cinematography, the cast. Oh my god, it is mind-blowing because all of them look alike from the animation to the live action.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, especially Mason Thames as Hiccup. Everything was so seamless, almost like no editing process, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, because the editing is very obviously very professional. That is why it looks like there is no editing at all.
I think they're doing a great job with the casting process from the director and scriptwriter and all those that involved in this movie.
Yeah.
Is just they're doing an amazing job.
And the professionalism of the cast itself.
Yeah.
When you into the movies, you have to adapt and you have to act with the character has been given to you. And the moral message that really stayed with me is that violence often come from misunderstanding. So the root of every problem is misunderstanding.
Couldn't agree more with you. For me, the strongest message that I got from this movie is all about listening. Hiccup survives because he listens, not because he fights.
Yeah, I think listen more rather than speaking more is more important.
Oh, just like the phrase "actions speak louder than words."
Yes.
That was this movie.
Yeah. When it also reminds us that tradition is not always right.
And that being different doesn't mean being weak.
Of course, being different means unique.
Like
In
my
my
name.
opinion, yeah. Unique. Yeah. 8.5 out of 10. It's already high. It's high. Most minimum is for like
Seven.
out of 10. If I give it 8.5, it's actually really good, and you guys should watch it. You will see what I mean.
And they also look alike, like from animation to live action.
It's
Very similar.
it's
Solid.
it's the writer of the script.
Also, the director that chose whom to perform who.
Yeah.
Amazing.
In the eyes of my son and experience so many emotions and feel that so truthfully and know that that's a whole new How to Train Your Dragon that we're bringing to the world.
The script, especially the script. Actually, if you wanna break down even deeper, the script for the movie, every movie, for every movie is very important. Especially if the movie itself coming from the real life and or the novel. And the scriptwriter have to adapt to the movie. For example, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. We have the book of Game of Thrones, which many series, but different from the book, yeah. The script writer actually not drift apart from the main original book, but only add some few things there, cut few things here, so it's aligned with the book and aligned with in the movie as well, the series. And for this movie, it's very good. You guys should watch it actually.
Yeah, very highly recommended.
Yeah, I give rating 8.5. You give rating
9 out of 10.
9 out of the 10. So it's you guys should watch it actually. So I am highly recommend to watch How to Train Your Dragons 2025 live action. So not only the animated one, but live action as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the version of the live action How to Train Your Dragons, because it's slightly different and more realistic from the
Animation version.
So you guys should watch it. And
I think that's all of our discussion about movie How to Train Your Dragon live action in 2025. Through the synopsis and literary elements such as plot, settings, themes that we've been talking about, and sociolinguistic aspects, we can see that the movie is not only about an adventure story but also about reflection on identity, communication, and understanding different perspectives.
and hopefully this discussion shows that films like this, How to Train Your Dragons, are not just for entertainment but also can be a deeper perspective for the viewers because of its strong moral message. And I have to drink right now because I speak a lot.
That's what podcasts mean, right? We talk until our what is tenggorokan in English?
And throat. My
We
throat
got
is
sore
very
throat.
dry. Yeah.
I think we should close this. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we do.
Don't forget to
Hit the like and subscribe button and watch other videos.
because there is so many podcasts with our peers, our classmates. So you guys should watch other podcasts too, and obviously you guys should watch our podcast, and you guys should stay hydrated like me. I think that's it, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You wanna
It's a
withdraw
wrap.
some more?
No, it's a wrap. We already say goodbye a long time ago. But let's do it again. So yeah, still the same. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah. See you in the next episode.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Udah kan?
Ternyata itu kamu nggak, aku nggak nyentuh.
Yep. And we're recording
It's
this
midnight actually.
for our final project, of
We-
course, English for digital media.
Yeah.
And here's for the real one. Aduh, capek. Kan bisa di-cut, no?
Sama gue juga capek.
Ayo ulang openingnya.
She want to retry
Because
the
at first
opening.
it's so stiff. Like we are too kaku.
Aku.
Kakin. Oh my god! Kaku.
Jangan didorong juga kali.
Gue tau gue fuso aja.
Lu pusing, gua kan motor kecil, motor bebek. Dorong langsung jeder. Kok jeder anjir? Gak jelas banget. So,
Ayo yang proper dulu. Udah sebentar, oke. Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast Narrative Lens with me Nikki.
And with me, Bayu Arfiandi.
How are you, Bayu? It's been a long since we met.
Yeah.
Yesterday.